Good afternoon, and thank you so much for joining me. This is episode number 38 of Real and Raw Conversations with Shalina, and today's topic is relationship red flags that you should be looking out for and not ignoring. Um, the reason why I chose to do this topic is because I help a lot of victims of domestic violence, and there's a lot of red flags I hear when I'm listening to their stories when they're reaching out to me for help. So on this episode, I'm sharing with you my top 10 relationship red flags to look out for. And just remember that there is help available. If you need to leave or if you don't know where to start, reach out. I'm going to provide you with numbers in this show that you can contact. And just watch this entire episode as well to gain some clarity on what you might be facing as well. Okay, so let's go. Let's head over to point number one: jealous and controlling behaviors, especially when it's to do with money. Now, these behaviors, they'll start off slow, but as the relationship goes on, they become quite intense. So these are things like having your freedoms taken away from you. So, when your spouse wants you to have a joint account with them, forcing you to have a joint account, controlling what you spend. A lot of the times you don't actually need a joint account. It's a huge red flag. A joint account gives your partner the ammunition that they need to use against you and control you. So a joint account generally is a big no-no, unless if there is specific purposes, perhaps relating to immigration or buying a house. There is no need for a joint account. Other ways a partner can control you is through social isolation. So they disconnect you to your family or to social media, or they don't allow you to drive. This is something major I have seen in the Indian community, especially when I'm speaking to victims of domestic violence. They are not allowed to drive, and instead of allowing them to drive, instead they will drive them to places. So the perpetrator is going to drive them to places. They'll take you everywhere you want to go, but that takes away your independence. They want a joint Facebook account, or they control you by threatening to leave you all the time. People who have controlling tendencies, they will also try to control you in terms of what you wear and how you dress, your body image, how much makeup you do, how much you don't wear. So if you are with somebody who you perceive to be dominating, this is a red flag, and you might want to consider rethinking your relationship, because controlling people don't just suddenly change their behaviors. They don't change their tendencies, and you don't need to, continue to prove your self-worth over and over again. So let's head on to number two, another big one in the Indian community. I cannot stress this enough. This is all too common, and I call it immigration abuse. This is when the partner handles the immigration procedure and they don't respond. They may not respond in a timely manner on purpose. They purposely delay the application, or the sponsor might contact the immigration, tell them not to grant the visa, or they might tell the immigration that the marriage is over, all behind the back of the dependent applicant. This is a red flag, especially for women who are dependent applicants on their husbands' visas, for women whose husbands are citizens or PRs of Australia, but the wives are not. The wives have no idea, especially, that the husbands are contacting the immigration behind their backs, and the immigration is actually not allowed to divulge this information out if the wife had called anyway, and she won't know what's going on. So if this sounds like you, if you are currently in the process of trying to get your permanent residency, your partner is your sponsor, the main applicant, I stress, do not rely on your partner for the information that they give you. Call the immigration yourself to know what's going on. Make sure that they have all your details. Create an email address. If you have a phone number, give them your phone number. It does not have to be your partner's phone number. Make sure they have all your up-to-date details. And just a side note, a lot of partners I've noticed, I've been told rather, they threaten the applicants and say that, oh, I'm going to deport you. Now, sometimes partners make threat about these things, about deporting. Don't believe everything your partner says. in order to be deported from this country, you need to have done something illegal. Your spouse would have to do something drastic and tell your immigration something drastic in order to have you deported. It's not an easy process. So if somebody's threatening you, telling you, hey, I'm going to deport you, the chances are that's bluff. You need to contact the immigration yourself. Red flag number 3, once again, problems with the family. Now, here's another one that I constantly see, and I find this completely unfair. The spouses don't let you go and see your family, or they speak ill of your family, and they expect unrealistic things from your family, such as gifts or money, houses, you name it. This is a big one in Indian culture, especially when a couple goes back to India to see their families. One party does not allow the other party to go and visit their parents. A relationship is not a one-way street. So if your partner has a problem with your family and you are seeing these signs early on, this is a huge red flag. You should never have to give up your family for your partner. That's a big no-no. So if you are noticing these behaviors, this is a red flag, and you might want to think about your relationship dynamics. All right, I've accidentally skipped one, but we're going to go to number 5 now. They use children against you. Oh, sorry, sexual abuse. Let's go to sexual abuse first. I've got another one after this. They force you to have sex with them. Now, just because you're in a relationship, it does not mean that you are your partner's property or that you owe them sex. Now, if you are being forced into sex, that is rape, that is marital rape, that is illegal, and that is a red flag. Another red flag relating to sex is when your partner withholds or rejects sex all the time. Now, questions that I have for you. Do they use sex as a weapon to stop you or make you do things? Do they make you do things that you are uncomfortable with in the bedroom? Or do they not let you experiment? Are there issues in the bedroom that you are unhappy about? If there is, then silence and avoidance is not going to fix it. And it's only actually going to end up being you who is miserable. So if you are having any type of sexual problems early on in your relationship, middle of it, you're married now, we need to rethink the dynamics of your relationship. That is a red flag. Some things don't change. And if it hasn't changed all this time, perhaps you need to rethink what's going on. Now, number 4, before I innocently made this mistake, was spouses who use children against you. Now, this is, they're threatening to harm the children. They're threatening to take them away from you as a means to control you. It's not a simple process to take the kids away from you. If your partner is saying this to you, it's generally to scare and intimidate you. And I stress, please call a lawyer yourself. You do not believe everything your partner says that threatens you with. So many people stay in marriages due to kids and because they can't see a way out. But let me tell you, reach out for help from the correct people. So I'm not talking about your friends, your family, but from recognized places. So recognized places include 1-800-RESPECT, Relationships Australia, legal services, so women's legal services, men's helplines. You will get the right advice from there, because children should never be used in the middle of marriage issues. And unfortunately, it's a very common thing to happen. Another red flag I want to point out to you pertaining to children is that if your child comes to you and tells you that you or your spouse is making them feel scared or uncomfortable, or their studies are being affected, this is a very, very clear sign that you need to do something about this, because your children should never have to be a part of a problem that they never created in the first place. And too many children are suffering because of problems in a marriage. Make sure, if you are somebody who is struggling right now in your relationship and you have children, don't overlook the mental health of your children, because they suffer a lot. It's very hard for them to regulate emotionally and physically to understand what's going on. And a lot of children may internalize what's going on as well. So this is a very, very important thing that you need to do, is to recognize how this is impacting your children, but also Don't believe the threats that are being made to you by your spouse, because these are scare and manipulation tactics. All right, let's get to the next one, right? We've got anger management issues and emotional deregulation. So in your relationship, are you noticing that your spouse has anger management issues or a lack of emotional maturity to solve problems? So does your partner have anger issues? Are you noticing that they punch walls? Are they slamming doors? These are minor things, but this goes to show their level of anger and frustration and how they take it out. Are they avoidant? So are they avoidant and not willing to learn how to manage their anger? Do they get physical? Do they call you names when they're mad? Do they go silent? Do they give you the silent treatment? It's called stonewalling. Are they passive aggressive, using sarcasm? Or do you feel like you need to continue to apologize over and over to them? Do they threaten to leave you and the children, if you have any? Do they threaten to call your parents, regardless of whether they're in Australia or overseas? If they're doing any of this is a red flag. Do they lose control when they're angry and you feel like you are treading on eggshells? Is there a lack of emotional maturity and regulation to solve problems? So what does your partner do when it comes to solving problems in your relationship? Do they run away? Do they go silent? Does your partner have intolerance to issues? Do discussions always turn into arguments? Do you feel unheard? Are you able or unable to express yourself and how you actually feel? Do you feel like you're talking to a brick wall? Does your partner apologize when they're wrong? Because emotional maturity and regulation means that you are able to manage your emotions regardless of the circumstances. And while we do all slip up, even I do, but you try and make sure that it doesn't happen again. So if you're noticing that there is this lack of emotional maturity, this can serve as a very big red flag, and it's not a healthy relationship that you're in. All right, let's get to the next one. Addictions. Alcohol and drug addictions, or partying every weekend. Not everybody is abusive when they drink and do drugs. However, if you find that they don't want to stop or take ownership of their actions and their behaviors, and it's interfering in your relationships, then you know that's a red flag. And there's only so much you can do to help someone, and you can't give up your sanity for them. You know, this can wreak havoc in relationships. So are you currently dealing with somebody who has an addiction? Are you feeling guilty? And is that why you're staying? I've noticed a lot of people feel guilty when their partner is struggling with an addiction, and they internalize it. They try and do everything they can to help them. But at the end of the day, you, as the saying goes, you can lead the horse to the water, you can't make them drink it. So people can change, but sometimes it's too late. And there comes a time when you need to draw the line of what you will and won't accept. So when it comes to addictions, how long has it been going on for? Is this something you can and cannot accept? I have a question. Let's put it up there. Ambrosu da Silva says, what about gambling? Absolutely. Gambling as well. Any type of addiction I'm talking about here. It could be video games. It can be alcohol, drugs, partying every weekend, gambling, you name it. How far does this addiction go? How is it harming yourself? How is it harming the people around you? Have people tried to help you? To what limit, to what extent do you tolerate these things? It's a question you need to ask yourself if you are currently with a partner who has an addiction, because some addictions are not very easy to cure and they do take time. Next one. Constant distrust. I've been through this one. So this is another red flag, of course, that I've noticed when I'm speaking to my clients, is that their partners are constantly accusing them of things that they haven't done. They're creating stories in their mind. They're starting fights. They're gaslighting. They're manipulating. They're demanding to check your phone, your emails, or even going to the extent of calling your friends and family to verify everything that you've done. And sometimes this behavior is a control mechanism to guilt you into giving up your independence and freedom. And other times it's because they themselves are guilty of doing these things. and it's being projected onto you. So whatever it is, this is a surefire sign that you need to rethink the dynamics of your relationship, because how long can you stay in a relationship where you are not being trusted or respected, and instead you're being accused of things you haven't done? How long do you have to prove yourself for? Because if you have not done something wrong, how long does this continue on for? Most of the time, this is used as a control mechanism. A lot of, especially the women who are dependent on their husbands' visas, I've noticed they go through this on a daily basis. Their husbands are accusing them, threatening them, lying to them, manipulating them. Yet these women feel like they can't escape, so they stay. It's detrimental. And this is a show of power. A show of power is a surefire sign of a red flag. All right, let's get to number 9. This is major, this one. It seems little, but it's actually not. Communication and intimacy, the lack thereof. So I'm talking emotional, sexual, physical. Like, we as humans, we crave intelligent conversations. We crave sexual intimacy. We crave closeness, love, affection. You should not have to give up your desires because somebody else cannot meet them, or their behaviors are not aligning with your desires. You know, intimacy is something that you need, and it's going to be continuous red flag if you don't receive it. So sometimes, and I've done this once again, we hold on to hope that things will improve or change, and the reality is that sometimes it doesn't. But we keep thinking that our partners are going to change. It doesn't always work like that. And if counseling doesn't work, if going to marriage counseling doesn't work, your partner's not open to it, you know, if you've tried having a general conversation and it's still not working, you can try seeking help on your own. But how long do you stay in an unhappy and unhealthy relationship for, which is not fulfilling? This is a definite red flag that you need to think about as well, because I constantly hear it. The amount of people who stay in unhealthy, unhappy relationships thinking that it's going to change, that's your biggest downfall, is the expectation that somebody's going to change, or just having expectations of people in general. So this is something you're going through. And if communication and intimacy is an issue, you have to ask yourself, how long has this been going on for? Are you able to get any type of answer out of your partner? Are they willing to go to marriage counseling? Are they willing to try anything? What are you doing in this marriage or this relationship? Is it serving you any type of fulfillment? If it's not, then you know what to do. All right. Number 10, very common. This one. A lot of the things that I'm mentioning to you guys today is things that I've either witnessed or I've been through myself. So yeah, stay with me here. Relationship goals that don't match. So sounds simple. It sounds like, oh, I wouldn't be with somebody whose goals don't align. Yet there are a lot of people who are fighting to stay in a relationship like this. Desires for a marriage, kids, houses, career. Some things can't be compromised. It's just not possible to compromise on these things. So if you are feeling like you are compromising outside of your comfort zone, this is a sign that something's wrong somewhere. You can't force somebody to want or not to want marriage or kids. So if your goals are not aligning, somebody must have to compromise. And that someone is going to be unhappy. You owe it to yourself to be happy. You don't have to stay in such a relationship. You honestly don't. Now, I've got a few special mentions here that they are rude to people. Service waiters. Have you ever sort of dated somebody like that? They're rude to people around you. Might sound small, but it's a big thing. It really is, because that shows how they treat the people around them, how they treat strangers, how they treat people that they feel are below them. That's not a good sign. Are they being rude to them? Are they swearing at them? Are they acting cocky? That's not cool. That's not on. If I saw that type of behavior, I wouldn't be able to tolerate those things. The next special mention I have is, and this is major, they don't want to know your past to understand you. You come across people who are like, oh, the past is the past and we're just going to leave it there. Fair call. fair call. You do want to leave the past in the past. But how do you understand somebody and their experiences if you don't talk about the past or don't talk about who they are and what made them become who they are today? So if you are with somebody who shows no interest in you, in the person you are and what made you there, you might be missing out on a very amazing connection with someone, because that's not on. You need to know these things. And the last one is someone who's constantly joking or sarcastic or putting you down in front of your friends or your family. Someone who is patronizing and belittling you. Not everything is a joke, and if you love and you respect your partner, you would never put them down in front of others or behind closed doors. So that's a big no-no. Like, you don't deserve to be put down, and you don't deserve to be with somebody who is, disrespectful towards you all the time. And if you do find that you have a partner who might put in snarky comments somewhere, puts you down in front of people around you, you might want to rethink who you're dating. Do you deserve that? Do you really? Because the chances are, you don't. A lot of times we put up with things that we think we deserve due to many reasons, such as low self-worth, or being forced into being married, or visa purposes, or you have children. I understand that. How long do you stay in a relationship that has this many red flags? Now, not all red flags mean that your relationship needs to end. So I'm not here to tell you you need to end it, you need to stay in it. That's your relationship. I am, however, telling you to make informed decisions. An informed decision means that you are connecting with the right people to gain the right advice, to make the right decision. That's what I'm here to do. I've said this before and I'll say it again. Your family and your friends are not the right people to get advice from. Sometimes, yes, but a lot of times your family and friends, these people, they come disguised as family, as friends, and they give you the wrong advice on purpose. And you might be blindly trusting them. So I'm being blunt with you right now, guys. Please, you do not have to believe what you're being told by them. A neutral, independent third party may provide you with insight and clarity, and it is always advisable to seek more than one opinion on the problem that you are currently facing. So if you need help, you want to talk about something, you know where to find me. My inbox is always open. Send me a message and I will guide you to the right places that you can get the help from. Because in my role, I act as an independent third party. And if you need my advice, I will give it to you. But there's never any pressure to take it. I will point you, however, in the right direction for the help that you need. So thanks for joining me today. And I just hope that something out of this has been valuable for you guys. Any red flags that you've heard me talking about today, does that ring a bell? Does that trigger you? Do you feel like you are able to resonate with anything that I have said today? Are you currently going through this? Please don't feel like you are stuck. I know it feels sometimes that it's impossible or difficult to get out of a situation that feels so sticky and feels so messy. But with the right help, the right contacts, the right state of mind, believe me, not everything is impossible. We can make it work. I will see you in the next episode. And if you have any questions or any comments or anything that you need, feel free to reach out to me. You know where to find me. I am never hard to find. Okay. Take care. Take care of your mind and your body and your soul. See you in the next